Yo, what up, folks? This is Rodney Farrell, the CEO of Farrell Development Group, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, hosted by D-Cal. Let's get it.
Hey, this is Marissa, straight out of Sacramento, California, and I listen to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with the lovely D-Cal. Go get him, Slugger.
Oh, you so wavy.
Where the wave at? Who the wave? Where the wave at? We the wave. Get wavy. Get wavy. We the wave.
Happy Monday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy D-Cal here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast. Hope you guys had an awesome weekend, as I did. Man, it is so great to be back. Seriously, it is great to be back here. Listen, we're coming to you live from the GNS Inc. headquarters here in beautiful, gorgeous, not too goddamn hot, 106-degree weather, Sacramento, California. Yes, it is beautifully, extremely, slightly, just a bit over annoying hot on this August afternoon. But we're going to go ahead and make it do what it do, baby. We're going to make it do what it do. I want to give a shout out to the sponsors of Mild Clothing Line. I also want to give a shout out to my boy Zyme. I'm feeling this track he got, Wave, that's what you hear in the background. I want to give a shout out to everybody right now that's doing construction on the road. Like, today is one of the worst days you can ever do construction because it's a hot ass day. I remember doing that in steel toe boots and jeans and hard hat and hardly any water break, and you're working on asphalt. So, you know, those people out there doing their thing, man, they are the true MVPs. Also giving a shout out to everybody on their first day of school. Yes, the future is in classrooms. That means shout out to all the teachers who are back to teaching. If I could, man, first drink would be on me, because I'm sure you guys had a hell of a day to deal with today. But we're back in stride. Want to go ahead and give a motivational, inspirational, like we always do here in the E.I.T.H.R podcast, and that is for you guys, man, to protect your peace, whatever that means, by any means necessary. It is easy for people to try to disrupt your peace, and usually the people who are disrupting your peace are individuals who are not happy within their own lives, and they do their best to make sure they pass on that misery because they're lonely, and everyone knows that misery loves company. And so, whatever it is you have to do, if you have to cut people out for an hour, if you got to cut people out for a day, if you got to cut people out for a month, if you got to cut people out for the rest of your life, there's no price for peace of mind. So just whatever it is you do to keep your sanity, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to you. You're not doing anything wrong. And as long as you are keeping your sanity and you're not hurting nobody and able to keep your focus, well, by all means, that's right. So some of the things we're going to get into today are pretty deep. We're here at the E.I.T.H.R podcast. You're more than welcome to follow us on social media. Instagram and Twitter. You can follow us. The handle is the E.I.T.H.R, T-H-E-E-I-T-H-R. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. The parent company is the GNS Inc. So any of the episodes that you have missed previously, you're more than welcome to listen to them on YouTube. TikTok, you can also follow the parent company of the GNS Inc. Not really familiar too much with TikTok, but we're trying to get into the hang of it. So today's subjects are going to be, like I said, a little sensitive for some people, but that's what we do at the E.I.T.H.R. We deal with the elephant in the room, and we'll address that once we get back.
Hola, soy Henry de Nueva York y escucho el E.I.T.H.R podcast con mi amigo D-Cal.
So one of the things that a lot of people, when you're dealing with discussion, as my A1 once said, there's a difference between having an informed opinion and an uninformed opinion. And a lot of people, if you ever pay attention to social media, which is kind of like the main source of communication for a lot of folks, a lot of people's opinions are uninformed. They are the battle of what I think versus what I know or what is understood. So you can't necessarily have a conversation with people when they're arguing with you based on what they think something might be because of how they feel. And there's plenty of people who you can show proof, you can show examples, you can show third-party unbiased documentation that's been published, numbers, statistics, to back everything that you have to say up. And these people will still hit you with well, I don't care because I think. Because the world goes around how we think, not versus what it is that we know. So some of the things we're going to talk about is conversation, and a lot of it's going to be about how we perceive things politically. On today's E.I.T.H.R podcast, and I'm going to kind of go into a little more detail what I mean, and for example, like this. I put this on Twitter the other day, and it says, and whatever it is that you're striving to be, how long should it take for you to achieve your goal? And what I mean by that is a lot of people would put a time frame on something and tell you if something's not done within a certain period of time that, to give up on it. Or that maybe it's not meant to be. Ladies and gentlemen, understand there is a fine line between giving up and just a little bit harder. There's a very fine, razor thin line between which one you should do. Because if anyone has a brain and a heart like myself, no matter which choice you make, you're going to always wish you did the other one, right? Understand too, when it comes to the time frame, it's very difficult because not everyone has the same network as you do, right? There's plenty of people who are fortunate enough to have worked with people, to be around people, to be in a certain circle of people who take their ideas and they run with those ideas and they have the same vision as you do. And then there's other people who, they hear your ideas, they don't see it. There's plenty of people, excuse me, who's heard my ideas, who heard some of the things that I wanted to do. And a lot of them have paid it no attention because this didn't work out, or that didn't work out, or that fell through. They tend to feel that, your ideas and your things, they're cool, but they don't really happen. And most successful people, what a lot of people don't understand, majority of the folks who they've shown, who they've demonstrated, who they've, what's the word I'm looking for? Presented their ideas to, a lot of people didn't believe in it. Matter of fact, I think it was T.I. who once said that if you show your dream to everybody and everyone sees exactly what you see, come up with a better dream. Because if everyone can see it, that means there's nothing special about it. If everyone can see what you see, then it's not necessarily something different that's going to stand out, right? That's the difference of a lot of successful people, that they come up with ideas that majority of folks have never seen before, which makes it unique, which makes it what it truly is and what it truly can become. So with that said, understand, ladies and gentlemen, there is no time frame, right? One of the downfalls to what's called a pyramid scheme is they call it a get-rich-quick scheme, which if you gotta pay attention to a get-rich-quick and pyramid, the two truly contradict themselves. It doesn't make any sense. And what a pyramid scheme is, the belief is you go to this meeting, this guy, this woman, or these people are selling you this lavish, glorious, successful lifestyle where suits and jewelry and yachts and estates and convertibles and just traveling across the globe, and you got to invest in this company and sell this service or this product and bring other people to, and they invest in the money, and next thing you know, you'll be a millionaire, right? That's the belief of a pyramid scheme. What an actual pyramid scheme is, you invest money into something, you invest money into someone, you invest money into an idea, and you get nothing in return. So I give you a couple $100, and the only thing you give me is a verbal agreement that this is going to become something big in time. That's what a pyramid scheme ultimately is. Also known as a Ponzi scheme. You see what I'm saying? Network marketing, multi-level marketing, those are pyramid schemes. People who say that typically are individuals who tried it, did not put in the necessary work, chose not to make the necessary sacrifices, chose not to have the bigger vision, the bigger picture, believed all the people who also failed or decided to fall short of the effort that it took, and walk away from their investment. I understand how that works because I've been a part of, quote unquote, a few pyramid schemes. And I've learned no one ever has anything negative to say about a pyramid scheme if you succeed at it. It's always those who fell short. And most people think it's a scheme because they have a time frame in their mind of when this shit should work. I put in 4 hours of social media and posting and memeing and inboxing and emailing, and no one's got back to me about anything. So this shit don't work. Right? You dedicate your whole life for 3 days towards something, and it doesn't yield what someone who has spent 7 years doing has produced. And because your 72 hours doesn't compare to their 96 months, it's fake. It's a scheme. It's a scam. Most of the time with situations like that, the people who you know said no to you. You don't want to become pushy. You don't want to become aggressive. So what happens, you become hesitant. You become scared. And you can look at a network marketing or a multi-level marketing business as you starting your own business. Because in essence, that's exactly what you are. The difference between starting from scratch and a network marketing company is they provide you the business, they provide you the service, they provide you the product, they provide you the website. They give it to you already. They already give it to you. It's already set up. All you got to do is generate sales. And people tend to think of that as a negative way of doing business. Well, that's because the 7 people that you hold close to you, those 7 said no. Well, 6 said no, 1 said maybe. And you continue to go after that one person that said maybe until they say no. And then you eventually give up because you were too afraid to go outside of your 7 people, to go outside of your circle. Listen, I've done it. I pissed people off by hounding them and bothering them and begging them and trolling them because they didn't do something that I wanted them. And it was the best thing ever. It was the best idea you can ever have. Listen, anything worth having is never going to come easy. And if it does come easy, is it really worth having? Because you can have it anytime you want to. It's going to take work, man, to make something happen. So when people tell you that if it doesn't happen within a certain time frame, that's because that time frame is a time frame that they created for themselves in their mind. But you have to hustle as if that time frame is the only time frame you got. Are most people willing to put in that kind of work? The answer is no, they're not. Now, this is not for anybody who is into those type of businesses. If you're not, you're not. However, if you're the kind of person that has this pressure on yourself like I do, that if something doesn't get done within the time frame, it's a failure. Listen, it isn't. It isn't. Right? If you're a religious person, you're going to understand this. The Lord may not come when you call, but he's always on time. Right? It may not happen in the time frame you want it to happen, but it's going to happen in the time frame it was supposed to. You just have to learn to appreciate the journey, because a lot of people think success is the destination. No, it isn't. That's not the destination. Once you reach your destination, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't mean you won. That means you are now able to go to the next level. And a lot of people miss that part. A lot of people miss because they're trying to skip the struggle. A lot of people try to avoid the hardships and take the easier, simpler routes. You miss so much by doing that. When I was in a training program for my fragrance business, they gave this example of two people. And let's just say, it's an 8-week program. I'm just throwing out numbers to make it really simple. And somebody finishes that 8-week program, they finish it in 4 weeks. Well, the person finishes it in 16 weeks. So an 8-week program, one person finished in 4, great. In an 8-week program, the second person finished in 16 weeks. Damn. Right? Well, the person who took 16 weeks to finish that 8-week program, they had a very slow start. Obviously. The person who finished in 4 weeks, man, they killed it. It was almost like a second nature for him or for her. Even though they blew by that training program in half the time they told you it was going to take. One of the issues with that is they never faced any obstacles. They never had any obscurity. They never had anything to get in their way, any type of roadblocks. They didn't have any type of distraction to discourage them. So when it comes to relating with people and why they struggle, and relating to other people who possibly do struggle, they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to relate to, because they can't relate to the issues that you had. Now, the person who took 16 weeks, and they've seen almost every single possible combination of issue in the book. And so they're able to relate and have empathy with and draw conclusions and tell you certain situations that you're going to run into that you might not have faced just yet. That's the beauty by not having a time frame necessarily, because all of those lessons you could possibly miss if you rush it, right? That's why sometimes the most beautiful drive is the scenic route, because you get to see all the shit that everyone in a rush will miss. So that's something. So when someone tells you, how long did it take for you to do this? I always tell them, it took me as long as it took me because I had lessons to learn, or I'm still learning, or I'm still in the middle of it, right? Because your path may be different than my path. Another thing, when people ask, how much money did you make? It's like, well, I don't really talk about money with people. And the reason I don't talk about money with people is for a couple of reasons, actually. Two reasons is, one, I'm going to say a number that's either going to be too low for you based on your expectation, and therefore you're going to be turned off. Or I'm going to say a number that's too high for you, and you're going to automatically assume that you're not willing to put in the work in because you're seeing the effort that I put in. You're going to automatically tell yourself that you can't match it. That's one reason why I don't talk about money. Talk about my money. Or talk about money with people. The other reason why I don't talk about finances with people, it's none of their damn business. You should never concern yourself with what's in another man's wallet. Because I don't work to pay your bills. You don't work to pay mine. So when people ask those kind of questions, I know they're doing it out of curiosity, but then some people also ask these questions because they use it as a measuring to judge you. Or how much respect they should give you. Again, another reason why I kind of keep that stuff to myself. Because, well, it's none of your business and I don't care what your opinion is. Another thing that I put on Twitter that I figure is a really good topic to have is why is it when people are subjected and fall victim to drug addiction or abuse, we criticize them for not making better decisions, all at the same time discredit or tend to dismantle those who turn to those tables and make it out and become a success story. Here's what I mean by that. When you have successful people or a certain group of people who are celebrity or of a certain stature or a certain status or certain means, and they have a downfall where they resort to drugs or to crime, they're painted as a photo of this person had a lot of demons. This person here, they had a lot going on. There was a poor them, right? We need to have sympathy for her, for him. They had a rough life. They had this, they had that, they had the other. So they turned to drugs because demons got a hold of them, and they need to exercise those demons, and we need to support them. They fell victim to fill in the blank. You kind of get the point I'm trying to make here. But then if you're somebody who comes from those environments, naturally, you're an addict, you're a problem, you're weak, you should know better, you got what you deserved, all these fun things. I kind of look at some of the celebrities that have made it big. And when these individuals have drug-induced moments or episodes in their life, articles are written about them, how we need to have a sympathetic shoulder and an empathetic platform for them to be able to tell us their stories so we can understand what it is that they're going through and why God help them out, because as a Christian country, we didn't FYB. Because if you're somebody who's born in a impoverished neighborhood, in a poor neighborhood, if you're somebody who in a broken home, if you're somebody in a high crime neighborhood, and these same circumstances, same conditions, but you're on the other side of the tax bracket, you're not painted with the same brush, now are you? No, you're a criminal. You're viewed as someone who made a very poor decision, and you have to live with that decision, and it's nobody's fault but yours, right? It's interesting, and if you look at a lot of these stories that are written by people, it happens more often than we think. So the bottom line is, if you are someone with money and someone with means, you tend to get a little bit more of a leeway, a longer leash, if you will, than those of us without money. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are listening to this podcast right now, you probably think like, David, no shit. Everybody knows that. Right. So with that said, have you noticed that they're pushing a lot of the homeless encampments into the more common, less wealthier neighborhoods. Has anyone ever noticed that wherever you live? Right? It's interesting. Once you have money, you can tell basically the government where people need to go. It's interesting, right? So in Sacramento, there's homeless people in certain areas, like there was on Fair Oaks and Howe, which is near Sac State. You have homeless encampments that were, in the near the Natomas area. You have most of them were in areas that were off the main street, not necessarily near residential, but close enough to where they can get food, have access to the train or to the highway or to the main streets for their panhandling, right? A lot of the city was purchased those lots, those areas, and they bought these areas and forbidden the homeless people to live there, which is interesting because they have nowhere else to go. So what you do is you take them from these areas in which they are kind of minding their own business already from jump, and you migrate them closer to the poorer neighborhoods. Well, these poor neighborhoods cosmetically already look atrocious. They already look like an eyesore. They already look as if they are something. So now you're going to populate them even more with homeless people, which is going to make these neighborhoods look a little more trashy, which is basically aesthetic and cosmetic. So you want the wealthy neighborhoods to look, because in most cases, if they come home or have to drive in any direction towards their home, and they see those who are significantly more well off than they are, it makes them feel a certain type of way. So therefore, they don't want to have to feel bad about their success, which no one's asking them to feel bad. Again, most of these people are homeless because of numerous reasons. But to push them out of areas that they're not bothering anybody and put them into poorer neighborhoods where there's already crime, there's already issues with money, there's already issue with poverty, you're now putting poor people amongst the broke. It's, with all that said and done, when you find someone who makes it out of those neighborhoods, who makes it out of those environments, we tend to ridicule, we tend to criticize, we tend to judge them, right? So you put drugs in these poor neighborhoods. Again, now you're throwing homeless on top of it. And these people happen to make their way out of these poor neighborhoods. Not even taking the drugs you use to get them hooked on, but they make it out, whether it's entertainment, whether it's education, school, whatever the case may possibly be. You criticize them because of where they came from. But I do want to talk about those who take the drugs that you put into the neighborhoods that you use to get them to sell so you can use it to incarcerate them. These individuals also make it out, right? I'm not glorifying drug dealing. I'm not glorifying it at all. So don't take it that way. What I am saying, though, is you put drugs in a neighborhood and expect for people to, unfortunately, get hooked on drugs, which will then increase the number of crime. Instead, some of these people, they take that and they make money off of it. Yes, they made money in a sleazy way. But what is the difference between somebody taking poison that you use to kill them and them turning around and redistributing it in the neighborhood versus pharmaceutical medication, which ultimately is doing the same thing to somebody else? What's the difference? Just my opinion. What's the difference? If you put that in my neighborhood for me to get hooked on, and I turn around and I sell it and make money off of it, just like you were doing, how is it wrong for me, but appropriate for you? I think a lot of people don't understand how the system is really ran. The system is kind of set up for you to screw up, if you really think about it. We're going to set this situation to where you have no choice but to get hooked on these drugs, which is going to alter your way of thinking, which is going to cause you to do crime, which is going to allow us to arrest you and allow us to incarcerate you so we can make money off of that. But then you turn around and you make money off of the drugs that we put into your neighborhood, and you make enough money to where you make it out of said neighborhood into these wealthy neighborhoods. Why are people discredited for doing something like that? You made it out. We put in a living cheat code, and you beat that system, right? Another issue that I have with people who judge folks who make it out is you never sit back and have a conversation with her or him like, what was it like to live there? And have an understanding. Not everyone is what your news channel that you choose to follow or listen to or get your news from is painted the way they describe people. It's not like that. But in some cases, people rather believe what they choose to agree with, one way or another. I don't know. It's just one of the things that kind of bothered me. Like when you take somebody who makes it out of a poor neighborhood and use exactly what you sent them to destroy them, but they become profitable from it. Why are these people looked as evildoers and wrong? Just one of my things. I don't know. It's always been a thought about. And it kind of bothers me a little bit. Another thing I want to talk about when it comes to politics is this. What we need to do as a people is we need to do a lot better at voting, not so much for the presidential position, but more on your local political level, right? There was a gentleman who went to Stanford, who's the one who actually put me up on this. You want to go to your local level of government. That's where you make most of your pressure come from. You make it come from the bottom. Again, think of a stove. The heat doesn't rise until the fire started. And where's the fire started? At the bottom. And what rises from a fire is the smoke. Because there's so many people that is at the top, you're never going to get to them. Because if you will, they're more guarded, they're more secluded, they're more, what's the word I'm looking for? Protected, if you will. But if you were to go to your lower level, like your city or your town government, and talk to your representative, or make noise at your mayor, make noise to your governor, right? Once you do things of that nature and make enough noise to where your mayor and your governor is now being called out by the local news, that's eventually going to make it to national news. And then they're going to go to their higher ups and say, this is what I need to do to make this work. By doing it the way we've always been doing it collectively, by going after the top, what they're going to do is they're going to just delegate to their people, and it's going to trickle down. So everyone knows the shit rolls downhill. It never rolls up. It goes downhill. But if you start the fire at the base, it's going to burn its way all the way up. Right? There are people who are in government position for the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years in the same seats, ladies and gentlemen, that they have been in for the whole last time. This is the point that I wanted to get to with everything that I've said so far, is to make you understand. No matter what it is that we do, if we do not come and understand the basics of how a government works, we're never going to make a difference. We just can't. We just can't. First of all, the government works for us. It works for the people. And the last couple of decades, they switched that bitch around and made it seem as if we work for them. And we've been in that mindset for I don't know how long. Okay? But we the people truly have the power. We do. There's 300 and some odd million people in this country, and this country is ran by only 600 folks. I don't know about you, but 320 million is greater than 600. Again, I said this in previous episodes. You can be the difference that you want to see. You can be that difference, right? If you're tired of the homeless in your neighborhood, employ them, right? I tell you right now, there's people out there who would love to sweep in front of your house, pick up trash from your yard, create a neighborhood cleaning service, volunteer. Tell them, listen, I ain't got money to give you motherfuckers, but I'll feed you, right? The people that's in the government that I spoke about, that's been in these offices or this position for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, I want you to think about what the world was like when they got in office. What was the world like 50 years ago? And if you think that was so far away, understand that you have parents, you have grandparents, you possibly have great-grandparents who were alive during that time. Imagine what the world was like during that time. And what the world was like during that time, imagine those people being so far out of touch with the rest of society, they still think the world is the same. They still think the world is how it was when they first got in office. That's how out of touch they are. So a lot of these laws and rules that are being signed or not being abolished is because these people think, feel, and believe the world is still like this. So what we need to do is we need to do a better job of voting them out and voting more people in touch in. One of the issues that I have with that, it all goes hand in hand. People need to take control of your streets. You just do. Stop waiting for the government. As I said, most of the people who are in office are so out of touch. They tend to think you don't know what you're talking about. Why? Because the world that they came from still exists in their mind. So when they see the numbers and they hear the reports, they don't understand what you are saying. They just look at the algorithms. They look at the percentages. They look at what is being presented to them by their representatives. And that is the fact that they go off of. When we go to these city hall meetings and these city hall gatherings, and we talk to the representatives that's behind the desk, and they want us to make eye contact with them and speak for the community, these people don't give a damn because we are whiny children to them. That's all we are. We're whiny, ungrateful children. Remember, they are out of touch with us. They come from a world that says we are fill in the blank. Hell, they probably come from a generation, they probably come from a group of people, they probably come from a circle of people who tells them about us exactly what we say about them. The only difference is they have the controlling position above us because they control how we think. They control us with the things that we find shiny and pretty, and they either threaten us with that or they tempt us with that. They either tempt to give or they threaten to take it away, like children. So I think that we need to act more mature adults and take care of these neighborhoods ourselves. I don't know how many times I said this in previous episodes, but it's no different. Again, there are representatives, ladies and gentlemen, who are in office longer than we have been alive, some of us. But they don't understand how much times have changed because they don't walk the same streets as we do. And there's nobody like us in these positions, which is why it's important for us to vote them out and vote somebody more in touch in. Okay? A lot of us tend to watch movies like The Godfather and Goodfellas and all these crime mob boss movies, right? And these movies are dope. They're great. I love them. But the difference between these movies is the people who we idolize, the Michael Corleones, the Paulies. We don't grasp the fact that they beat the system by joining the system. They're being the system. They're being the change of the system within the system. You see what I'm saying? In neighborhoods that I grew up in, that I come from, you don't trust police. You don't like police. You don't talk to police. You don't discuss nothing with police. If police pulls you over, you don't say shit to police. Because if you do, somebody can automatically assume you are a rat. You are narc. You are infiltration. You are plant for the police. I think that kind of thinking has backfired for years. Because the reason why some of these folks get away with murder, no pun intended, is because they get into the system. They learn the system. They learn how to protect themselves within the system. I think, feel, and believe if more people of color got into becoming lawyers, got into becoming law enforcement, they got more into becoming judges, which you start to see more often, you'll start to see people who actually give a damn about the community, and they can use that as a way to protect each other within the system. We just need more of that. We need more people to want to get into the system that they hate so much so they can change it from within. Simultaneously, changing it from within your community, right? Within your voting. Because voting only means so much, ladies and gentlemen. The rest of it is money. Money has more to do with voting. Money has more to do with the government than voting does, in my opinion. I feel that if we have an influence outside of the government, as well as an influence within the government, and we kind of learn how to government ourselves, it will be a little bit different. But we have to take the steps in order to do so. We just have to. So, like I said, you got to be more aware of your local government and how long they've been in office and how long they've been in function and how long they've been in their seat. And see, oh, damn, this person's been in their seat for 22 years. No wonder nothing has changed. Because they keep voting the same exact way. Okay, let's go ahead and get that out and put somebody new. Another problem is a lot of the people who are in these positions, again, I'm going to word it to you this way. They don't come from the neighborhoods we come from. They don't. So because they don't, they can't truly relate to what it is that we go through. But if you have police officers who are from your neighborhood, lawyers who are from your neighborhood, they will have a better understanding of why. Not saying they're going to dismiss anything, but they'll have a better understanding of why. There's a commercial that I heard not too long ago that talks about cocaine and heroin as a medical a medical addiction. Growing up through the 80s and 90s, heroin and cocaine in Oakland, in Richmond, in Vallejo, in East Palo Alto, South San Jose, Pittsburgh, Antioch, has always been legal. It's always been a legal issue. But now that it's happening in other neighborhoods, it's now become a medical issue. Which we have been saying it's a dependency, right? Narcotic dependency or whatever dependency they want to give it a pretty name. That's how they call an addict and addicts nowadays. So feelings don't get hurt. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a whole hell of a lot of work to do. We're trying to change this world. And I think that we can. We just have to do a little bit better at making sure that our dots are crossed and our T's are dotted, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does to somebody. So make sure that you are making those changes. The next thing I do want to talk about, real quick, this is kind of funny. I put this on Twitter as well. Again, you can follow Twitter at the E.I.T.H.R, E.I.T.H.R. Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. We're gonna save that one. We're gonna save that one. Sorry for the pause, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kind of just going through my my Twitter to see which topic that I want to go ahead and talk about next. Give me one quick second. Talked about that. Talked about that. Here's a good one. Many a conversation and or relationships are killed by the glory of one to be right versus the humility of accepting the decision of what's right. Do you guys agree upon that? I know I was one person who believed in this without even realizing it. I had to be right by any means necessary. I didn't give a damn what it was. I had to be right about something. How many of us do this ourselves? How many people that you know are guilty of doing this themselves, right? They would change the subject to be right about something, and they'll end the subject on that. How many people have to be right about something and think that you're wrong without even knowing the full scope of the detail? It's stupid example. Let's talk about music. One of my favorite artists is E.I.T.H.R, and he has an album that got released back in 1996. A song came on the radio, and I was telling this person how the song, man, this reminded me of back then, blah, 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 blah. It came out in 96. They kind of looked at the, they did a, what do you call those? A search. There's an app you can use that kind of plays it. I can't think of the name of it right now, and I'm looking for it as I'm talking. Give me a quick second. They did a search, and I use this damn feature all the time. God, if anyone knows, it wasn't that. It was a, what is the Shazam? They did a Shazam on the song, and the Shazam, I believe, said the album came out in 2005. I said, no, the album didn't come out in 2005. The album came out back in 1996 because I remember working at Target during that time. And this person straight told me, well, the internet, well, right here it says it came out in 2005. I said, well, that's wrong. It came out back in 1996. And she looked up the album itself on the internet, saw that it did came out back in 1996. And this particular individual told me, this site must got the date wrong because the Shazam says. And it made me think how dependent people are with the internet, to where they don't even give a damn if you lived it, you've seen it, you witnessed it, you created it. Whatever the internet says, it's going to be the truth. So I have learned, going back to the shout out or to the inspiration of keeping your inner peace, your peace of mind, is let that person have that victory of that concept, of that conversation. Just let them. Because even if you provide documented proof of an example, video, audio, whatever, if they believe they're right, they're going to be right. Simple as that. They can't, I don't know what it is about certain people, man. They just have like this phobia of, I can't be wrong, I can't be corrected, I can't be proven to be incorrect. It's one of the most annoying things in the world to me. But we live in a world where everyone has to be right about anything. Everyone has to be right about everything. And it's just one of those things where it's annoying. It really, really, truly is. So I hope you're not like that kind of person. I hope you're not the kind of person that has to be right about everything. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, it must be an extremely, extremely lonely room. Anyway, listen. I'm about to get up out of here for the podcast. I appreciate you guys' time. It's going to be a really, 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 really busy Monday for me. But I had to go ahead and make sure that I dedicated myself to you guys, as I always do, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3:30 Pacific. I look forward to talking to you guys again this coming up Wednesday, 3:30. Have a beautiful weekend, or beautiful week. Sorry, my days all running together. You guys be good. Talk to you later. We out.
This is Rissa with Rissa Tea Party, and you're listening to The E.I.T.H.R, hosted by the one and only Decal. Hi, this is Clarissa with Sipology, and we have a fantastic selection of tea, teaware, and various other items. Currently, we are offering a huge 25% off sale with Christmas in July. Come check us out on Facebook at Rissa E.I.T.H.R. That's Rissa E.I.T.H.R.
What you know about the dopest dispensary in OKC with wheels? It's the only dispensary in OKC with wheels. Hot box delivery service. Discreet and dependable with all the biggest name brands and exotics, including Cookies, Backpack Boys, Jokes Up, Rap Packs, Baller Jars, Baller Bars, Cars, and more. Make sure you hit them up at 405-835-0222, 405-835-0222, 405-835-0222, hotboxdeliveryok.com.